Four on the floor brought to you by Citywide Banks. 4 questions, 30 seconds each. When the bell goes off, we're supposed to go off. First question. First playoff poll tonight, college football. It's going to be released. Who are your top 4?
Ohio State. This is tough. The reason why I came up with
A lot of undefeated teams still.
I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to explain a little bit in the next question, because I see the next question. My 4 would be Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, who's playing at Alabama, so I'm not probably going to keep up with this one, although LSU could beat Alabama. If that game were in LSU, I'd give it to LSU. And Stanford.
Stanford.
Who's playing here Sunday.
Ooh.
That would be my top 4.
We've got one different.
Well,
First of all, I don't know why LSU isn't getting more love. Now, the tough part of the schedule is coming up.
Yeah, they're 5th.
But LSU, undefeated, great conference, best player in the country in Fournette. I've got them as number 1. I've got Ohio State, number 2. I've got Clemson, number 3. And I've got Baylor, a very iffy number 4, simply because they've lost their starting quarterback.
Okay.
But then again, Ohio State lost his starting quarterback last year and did pretty well at the end of the season.
Okay,
so
well,
I'm waiting to see on
that leads into question number 2. Does Baylor, who you put in your top 4, number 2 in the polls, both the polls, deserve to be in the top 4, missing a quarterback, but more important than, well, not as important, lousy schedule.
Yeah, and I just gave the reason why. They've been extremely impressive. I mean, they're lighting up the scoreboard like few others. And because of what Ohio State did last year, I don't think a team should be penalized for losing its starting quarterback until they actually lose a game or 2. Ohio State did very well with,
forget
with its
about the quarterback,
last
but
year.
I mean, they played Lamar or somebody.
I know.
They played about 5 lousy teams.
They've been a dominating.
Do you know what their strength of schedule is in comparison to 110th? You really want to put somebody in the 4?
Why do you take Stanford ahead of TCU?
Because I don't like TCU or Baylor. Baylor's schedule I don't like. TCU's barely slid by. One of them's going to eliminate the other one.
Right.
But Stanford, look at who they've beaten. They have beaten big-time teams. They lost early in the season. I think you want to lose early in the season and then come back, like Alabama.
Yeah.
I would almost put Alabama in there. It's going to decide, because Ohio State's going to play Michigan. So that's going to decide itself. TCU and Baylor are going to play. Alabama and LSU are going to play.
Does Ohio State play Michigan State this year?
Well, it's
Michigan
quite
State's
possible.
undefeated as well.
Yeah, well, it's quite possible that they'll meet in the championship game if they don't play during the regular season. I think they've got to play both of them, though, don't they? They play both.
You've got an interesting next question.
And number 3, can a team with 1 loss deserve to be in there with 8 undefeated Power 5 conference teams?
You have one in there. You have Stanford in there. And I believe that a team, yeah, absolutely. I think you have to look at strength of schedule. And, for instance, I'll give you Alabama. If Alabama runs the table the rest of the way, beats LSU this weekend, one of the top 4 ranked teams in the country, or top 5 ranked teams, yeah, I think Alabama, and wins its SEC championship game, absolutely Alabama should be in there.
Part B of that is, because number 4 we've already answered about the ACC, they still, I think retroactively, Stanford should be given that game against Cal. Go back and say, John, we're going to give you that victory, and you could go to a bowl game
now. Yeah.
But that's number 4. Let me follow up on what I just talked about. Is there any chance that Houston, Memphis, Temple's been defeated by Notre Dame? Is there any chance they belong in the Final 4?
No. Again, strength of schedule.
Do they belong in a New Year's Day bowl?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if one of them goes undefeated.
You mentioned Notre Dame. If Notre Dame runs the table, always one of the strongest schedules in the country, they're missing their starting quarterback, and they have 1 loss. If Notre Dame runs the schedule,
they still
should they be a top 4 team?
Yeah, they got to play Stanford. They got to play. They beat USC.
And this is all going to shake out. They're going to be very few undefeated teams left at the end of the year.
Yeah. So anyway, that's fun.
All right. We touched on this earlier. Should the ACC or the NCAA take away?
The NCAA is not going to do it. So
should they take away? Should the win by whomever? Should the win be taken away from Miami and award that football game to Duke? And should the rule be changed? Should there be some rule implemented which would allow the conference and the NCAA to do that in the future.
Yep, final play, yep. You and I have talked about this before. Remember the batted ball by Seattle?
Yep.
Remember that? So they wrongly beat Detroit.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to bring up Detroit. Can I make a fifth question?
Sure.
I want to throw something into you that you haven't seen today. That game with Detroit should have been overturned.
Yes.
They should have brought them back out. You can't bring.
Yeah, they could. The NFL could do it right then and there.
The ACC should protect its conference. I don't even know who the commissioner is. I don't know anybody does.
Swafford?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to
Chuck Swafford, something like that.
Well,
look
I'll
at the
take
ACC commissioner,
well,
please.
I don't care, but he should. I said earlier, he should grow a set and say, "Hey, we're protecting our conference. We're protecting our teams." Miami's putting out T-shirts with the play on it, and they know they didn't deserve to win that game.
Some of the players said after the game, "We don't care. We count it as a win."
John Swafford.
Swafford.
Thank you. That was good.